Nigeria's central bank chief, Godwin Emefiele, says yesterday that plans are in place by the financial regulator to build a multi-million-dollar international financial center in the footsteps of South Africa, Rwanda, and more recently, Kenya in sub-Saharan Africa. The central bank governor was also optimistic about Nigeria's economic growth at about 2.5%. To 3% in the current year. Let's turn now to the CEO at Cowry Asset Management, Johnson Chukwu, for some insight on this. Good evening, Johnson. Welcome to the show. Thank you for coming through. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. Good evening.
You're in the financial market, so I'm sure you understand what an international financial center is. What does it involve, really, to build one?
Well, it involves building the architecture that will support settlement and payment system, global efficient payment and settlement system that is not focused only on the domestic economy. You have multiple players. You have free flow of capital into that economy or through that system. You have a large number of financial institutions, not just domestic financial institutions, but again, you also must have the legal framework and the regulatory framework that will ensure that disputes are timely resolved or timelessly resolved. So it involves having the architecture that will entail efficient payment and settlement, global payment and settlement, not just local payment and settlement. Nigeria is already at an advanced level of its domestic payment and settlement system. But it now involves global payment and settlement system. It will involve multiple players in the financial services industry, which will include banks, asset managers, pension fund administrators, insurance companies. It will involve an efficient capital market within that environment.
Will it involve international organizations as well, citing their offices, their operations at the financial center, which is more like a free trade zone on the economic side, if you talk about, for example, the Lekki Free Trade Zone, for example?
Well, there are some countries that have set up their international financial centers within a special economic zone, which is what you call the free trade zone. Like the Dubai Financial Services Center is in a special economic zone. But the basic thing is this: once you have an international financial center, certainly, like I said, it's not just focused on the settlement and payment of domestics in the domestic system. It involves payment and settlement at the international global level. So you're likely going to see international financial institutions set up operational base within that international financial center because of the fact that settlements and investments are taking place globally, not just within that economy. So you can actually stay in that center and invest anywhere in the world, but you also have to have a free flow of capital within the international financial center.
My point, so it doesn't mean that if we set up the NIFC, as the central bank governor said yesterday, unveiled, says to be sometime in 2022, maybe later in the year, you think we'll be able to put all this together, but will it help us bring external inflows that Nigeria seriously need in terms of FX and retain it?
Well, in the first place, let me start from the dampener. I doubt if Nigeria will be ready to serve as an international financial center in the next couple of years. Look at our legal and regulatory framework, particularly the legal framework. We don't have an efficient legal system. You can't resolve commercial disputes timelessly. And why do people want to go for arbitration in London? Because the arbitrations could be final and could be enforceable. But here, if you go to settle a commercial case in the Nigerian legal system, you're going to be there for the next 20 years. So the legal system will be a major drawback for Nigeria to serve as an international financial center because these are entities that are located outside this country that want to do business here, that want to enter into contracts that are enforceable in Nigeria, but the legal system will not support that. That's on one side. Then, whether we're going to have capital flow, of course, we're going to open up our financial system to allow for easy movement of capital within the system. And as it stands today, we still don't have that. We don't have convertibility of the Naira. And there are a lot of restrictions or challenges in investing outside with Nigerian financial institutions investing outside the country. So you're going to deal with that. You have to allow for additional improved level of liquidity in terms of capital flow within and outside the country. That's one aspect that has to. If you do that, of course, it then means that depending on which direction if capital is flowing, you can actually have a surplus in terms of net capital flow into the economy, which will help improve our foreign reserve and improve our currency. You can also have a negative capital flow which happens most times when you have some level of economic or political instability.
Okay, so what model for the International Financial Center should Nigeria adopt? Should we adopt the Dubai Financial Center? Should we go the way of Singapore or South Africa?
I think, given our challenges, I think we should go the direction of Dubai, where they have to set it up under a special economic zone. When you set up a special economic zone, you can actually make specific laws and create separate legal structures and legal system for that special economic zone. That becomes easier to enforce. You can have special courts. You can actually have a different and more efficient legal and regulatory environment within that special economic zone. So I think that's the direction Nigeria should take, given the level of underdevelopment of some facets of our Nigerian social system that would ordinarily support an international financial center.
And you think the home of that will be Lagos, by the way?
Yes, absolutely. Lagos obviously has the most advanced settlement financial system in the country. It has the most advanced settlement system. And it's also the, in terms of economic broadness, in terms of sophistication, Lagos still remains the most sophisticated we have in the country today.
Okay, just to, well, let's wish ourselves the best on that very quickly. But just to touch on the central bank governor, talk about a forecast of GDP 2.5 to 3% for 2021. What's your take on this projection?
Well, if you look at what happened in the second quarter of this year, where the economy grew by 5.01%, you tend to believe that the economy could actually achieve 2.1%. But it all depends on what happens in the second, third, and last quarter of this year. I don't think the economy will grow at the same rate it grew in the second quarter, in the third and fourth quarter of this year. But assuming it maintains a growth of about 3% those two remaining quarters, then we could possibly end the year without a 2.5% GDP growth rate. It all depends on what are we doing in the agricultural sector. Like I always say, agriculture accounts for almost a quarter of the Nigerian GDP. Agricultural sector growth has weakened to just 1.3% in the second quarter of this year. We've also seen a major deceleration in the growth rate in the ICT sector, which now grew at about 5.55%. Those two sectors are the largest contributors to the GDP. We need to improve their growth if we hope to achieve up to 2.5% at the end of the year. If the growth in those two sectors decelerates further, then it will be difficult for the economy to achieve 2.5% at the end of 2021.
So also 2.5 to 3%, we can average that if we continue on the current trajectory, or at least the last quarter.
Yes, absolutely. But like I said, it will be difficult because of the base effect actually helped us prepare the economy to 5.01% growth in the second quarter. But nevertheless, I think we should see growth in the third quarter and the fourth quarter. If you cast your mind back to the fact that the economy contracted by about 3.6% in the third quarter of last year. So we should see a reasonable growth.
Okay.
But
thank you very much. Stay optimistic. Johnson Chukwu, CEO at Cowry Asset Management. Thank you for your time.